Dad, Rebecca Ryan, Tom McCormick, Nicole Hastings, Jay Murtowski, and also James Pierce, Director, Jennifer Tiska, Program Manager, Robin, help me again, Marshall Look, Kevin, you were here the last meeting, were you?
I was here the last meeting.
Yeah.
Yes. They had me listed different.
There you are, I'm sorry,
Find
I thought they left you out. Kevin Zader, Scott Gardner, and
James Bragg.
thanks, sorry I didn't know that. Okay. We've been furnished with the minutes of the August 12th meeting. Excuse me. September 9th meeting.
September
right?
9th.
And we discussed, so do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Additionally, we have the financial statement dated September 30th, 2021. And Robin, if there are any highlights, could you do that at this time?
Well, and I'd also like to say, because it has been 2 months since we've had a meeting, there's September's report and then also October report.
I see that, thank you.
So I can just briefly go through. In September, we had $551 in income come in, and total expenses were $34,596.58. And we ended up the month with $2,427,86 in cash and investment funds. And then we can flip over to the next one, to October. We'll go into that. Our total income coming in October was $17,869.66. And our total expenses were $34,232.71. And we ended up the month with $2,410,723 in invested funds and cash on hand.
That fee earned was Draskow?
I'm sorry?
The fee earned was Draskow?
It was Drasgow and Calcannon.
Just so you know, both of those projects were closed.
There's no discussion, and I will entertain a motion to approve the two statements as presented. Do I have such a motion?
I'll move to approve the financial statement for September and October.
You have the sheet, you already moved.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
You'll
I'll second, I'll
second,
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Jim, could you summarize the select door application?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So that we've received an ID application from Selector, or actually the LLC is called Monty Acquisitions, which is doing business as Selector. Selector has been around for 40 years. And during the pandemic, when everyone was working on their houses, and they launched into a new product line, and it was those barn doors that are on the rail. So they rolled out a whole line of doors related to that, and it took over, but it represented about 50% of their revenue for the year, right, by adding that new product line. So now they are going to be expanding. They need more space for that. They're going to buy a piece of equipment, $1 million CNC machine as well. And they're going to build about a 7,000 square foot building. The project cost is a little over $700,000. They're going to be adding 6 jobs over the period of 3 years related to this project. And they have asked for a standard 10-year pilot, mortgage recovery tax exemption, as well as a sales tax exemption. And because the proposed benefits would be greater than $100,000, I would like to ask the board, if you don't have any questions, to authorize a public hearing, which we are required to do. And then we'll bring it to the board for the next meeting.
Any discussion?
You mentioned 6 jobs, it says 5 here, should I just start?
It's 6 on the application. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
All right.
picked it up wrong.
Any further discussion?
It's interesting, I'm just gonna say, it's interesting, this door company is like the parent of three other door companies in the region. There's Creekside Millworks in Arcade that's making hardwood doors. There's Fontrick Door in Batavia, which is Mike Fontaine, and then we have Rob Fontaine right here in Warsaw. They're all making hardwood doors, and they all really kind of came out of that parent company, and they're all selling to the same market area in Connecticut and the Hamptons and Massachusetts. And it's just like a little cluster industry in this region, but this is the originator.
The people making the farm doors.
Yeah.
If there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the application to hold a hearing on this project.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a sales tax exemption request for Alley Cat Wind Project. As the board knows, we authorized and approved this project many months ago. And they're asking for another year of renewable tax exemptions for the project. They do have intentions on starting some groundwork this winter in terms of clearing some of their parcels that they have. And they did receive some good news kind of noted in the email in the packet, in which the governor announced a pair of new transmission projects to deliver renewable energies to New York City. One of those projects is going to be awarded to Alley Cat, at least for their power, and it's going to run power from here into New York City. So they're excited about that. So I would propose that the board consider a request for extending the sales tax exemption, which expired actually on September 30th, but additional year until September 30th of 2022.
Any idea how much it impacts the county, the dollar?
Doug probably has better numbers than I do from the community.
I can't tell you what the impact is for the county, but I can tell you what the impact is for the town of Arcade. 500,000 a year for the next 20 years.
It helps the budget.
It's some serious cash. Our budget's 1.1 million, so.
Wow.
Have they got everybody at peace about doing this now?
As far as I know, they have a representative at our town board meeting last week, and everything was a go. They're still wrestling with Cattaraugus County.
Yeah.
But
It's my understanding the last election, there was two towns that are really rubbing this the other way, Freedom and Farmersville. It's my understanding the election that a
Solved the problem.
pro-win got the supervisor's job. So
Yeah.
starting in January, there might be a little change of, at least from the Freedom's perspective on supporting this.
And I don't know, did the Cattaraugus County IDA ever come to their senses?
No, they won't budge. But they're gonna find a way to do this project.
You know, the impact from the financial part of this for the county and really the school districts is minimal compared to the town and the IDA. Because way back when the first project came into Eagle, the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution to make sure that the majority of the funding went to where the windmills are actually located. So,
Yeah, it's been a kind of an 80-20 split ever
Right.
since. 80 goes to the community, goes.
and to give you an example, Pioneer Central, which is in our case, part of that school district, wanted a big handout. They can't see the windmills from the school district. However, the people in Bliss can. So it was only fair. We talked about it at great length. And we passed a resolution, and it's somewhere that details how this money is supposed to be split up. That's for Wyoming County only. So it certainly has been a windfall to the IDA.
But they haven't broke ground on any of this yet.
No.
Until they get approval from the towns.
Oh, it's all set. We've had public hearings.
Okay.
This was, all in the last 6 months, Jeff Carlino, who's an attorney for the Hiram Lake Club, And wind projects there's gonna be a couple turbines, across the road from them. They were never notified. Well, that's not true. Everybody was notified. We had public hearings, advertisements, all of that. Guess how many people came to the public hearing, Tom? 0. You got it. So I haven't heard a word about it since then. They turned it over to their legal department and,
Well, everyone's approved, so I don't know if they can do all the cows around.
not anything.
So what does this do for them?
This continues their sales tax exemption.
Okay.
So when they start construction and
They
Yeah.
can start using it. Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
a second.
Yep, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And turning to 3C.
Yes, Beaver Hollow is once again,
Excuse me, I got the wrong, once again, I have the wrong agenda. Yeah. Can't seem to get that mark.
You'll be all right.
Go ahead, Jim.
once again, we have Beaver Hollow on the agenda. I think, as some people know, I know Becky does, because she got asked to supply a letter of support for a grant that they were chasing down. So Beaver Hollow Snyder Corporation is selling ownership rights of Beaver Hollow to a company called Founders Software, which is also a Snyder Corporation entity. And so they are asking us, because they are still under a pilot, they are required to ask us for permission for the new mortgage, as well as a licensing agreement they're going to use for allowing one of the affiliates of New Founders Software to park vehicles there on the property. Am I saying that right, Kevin?
Yes.
One of the affiliates for this new company is the logistics and the bus operation.
Snyder's transportation operation.
So they're not asking for any new benefits. They're just asking to switch over the pilot that's remaining to the new corporation, which only has, one more year on it?
Yes, I mean, so I think there's a year left on the pilot. They're actually, none of that paperwork's changing. The pilot stays in place. What's happening is that the ownership of Beaver Hollow Wellness is changing. So that's what we're consenting to, is simply an authorization. And they're doing a sublease as well as part of that process. So this board has consent rights with respect to the sublease and with respect to allowing them to enter into the mortgage transaction, because you have the interest in the property. So that's really it. There are no new benefits being requested or provided.
Are there any disadvantages for the board, for the idea for allowing this?
No, a disadvantage. I mean, from the IDA's perspective, I don't see a disadvantage. We do this typically, Jim, when you have financing that comes in, because the IDA shows up in a title report, right? So you can't get cleaned. The bank is not going to close on their financing. So the negative is if you don't do it, then it creates problems for their financing when they can't close.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution which is attached to the proposed minutes. So, second. All in favor?
I'm sorry, who moved? Who was the first?
Tom did.
Tom, okay.
Becky.
You Becky.
Okay. Now, on the correct agenda, I understand we have to review and approve the engagement letter from Friedrich Matz for the annual audit.
Yeah, I didn't enclose that in the packet just because it's a very lengthy document, and usually the board says, what's it gonna cost us for the audit this year? So, the audit is gonna cost $12,475. That's an increase over last year of about 21%. So it took a significant jump. There was a lot of reasoning for that, in that Fried Maxick and all the CPA firms are having a hard time hanging on to their employees. People are jumping jobs and going every place for more money. So they are shorter in staff than they used to be. And subsequently, when I tried to negotiate for a rate equal to last year, they weren't able to meet that. At this late stage of the game, it's very difficult if we don't accept this to go out in RFP for new auditing services, but I would offer that up to the board if we could authorize this level for this coming year, that we'd be happy to RFP for another firm for next year.
My memory is correct, we talked about this, a similar subject last year, I think, with council. And didn't I see a proposed bill where we were going to have to switch auditors every 3 years or something?
Yeah.
The lead auditor for the auditing company has to change, which they do. Kathy Barrett is one of the leads, and then she'll switch with Laura. I'm not sure her last name.
I don't know what the proposed, I don't think it passed. There was a proposal that they were gonna
I haven't
require
seen that yet, Chairman.
a
Yeah.
rollover. Now, maybe I'm.
Yeah, there is the current law is, Robin's right, the current law is that if you had freed on for, say, 5 years, that 5th year, they'd have to put a different lead audit partner on it. But it sounds like you say there's another piece of legislation. I have not read it yet. If there's something new that they've tightened it up.
I think it was proposed.
Okay, yeah.
God knows what's being signed now because of the change of the governor.
The other factor is that we have 3 organizations that the IDA is responsible for, and we use the same CPA firm for all 3, so they know all 3 organizations. There's no learning curve on who's doing what and what they have to ask for. They know what the compliance things are for each entity as well. So I would just throw that out there for consideration as well.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last year too. Any further discussion?
I said we stay with them.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jim,
Even if we go out for an RFP, doesn't mean it'll be less expensive. Everybody's in the same situation.
Yeah, just my executive director's report, I just want to give a quick update on a few projects. The Lexworth Valley Campground, I should say, in Pike, the board approved the loan portion of that project. So that closed, so the loan is closed on our end. And we're still pending the board approving the pilot and the inducements because, quite frankly, the developer wasn't understanding properly the process that you need to go through for permitting a project. So he has not yet presented the planning board a set of site plans that have been stamped by a licensed engineer. So he still has to go through that process. So they have started that, and he's working with the zoning officer. We anticipate that this will probably show up on the agenda in January.
Where is that, Jim?
It's Covenant Acres in the town
Oh,
of Pike,
okay.
the church camp.
Yep.
Yeah. So the project is still moving forward. I'm working with Morton Salt. I had a discussion with the chairman about bypassing the IDA board for authorization for a public hearing, because we thought initially that, which we aren't required by law to do either, by the way, according to council, right? We don't just do a public hearing, but typically we come to the board, give you an idea what the project is, and you say, yeah, let's go ahead and look at it. But in this case, Morton Salt, we jumped right to a public hearing just because we thought they were going to get caught up in that whole prevailing wage law that's coming into effect in January. We wanted to make sure we could fast track this through before then if we had to. But after we started crunching the numbers, it looks like our assistance is going to be less than one third of the total project cost, which would not put them in that category of having to mandate prevailing wage for the construction. So anyways, so we did the public hearing anyways, and we did it on November 4th over at the Village of Silver Springs. The only person in attendance was the mayor, Ray King, and he was very supportive of the project. So the project is going to be a 30,000 square foot warehouse, and the purpose of it is to eliminate third-party warehousing that they're having to pay for now. So this will put all their warehousing on site in Silver Springs, and it will make them much more competitive. I don't have they too are going through the permitting process, so I don't have it on the board agenda today for consideration. That probably will show up in January as well. And working with the Litzak Lumber over in Castile, they have really grown over this past year with the pandemic, all the housing and stuff that's been going on. But more importantly, at least for our interest, their wholesale distribution business has grown significantly. And they're talking about putting up a new building, and so we talked about its eligibility. So the owner of the company is going to be putting together some numbers and come back to us, and we'll see if it's going to pencil out for them to go through the IDA process, and if there's enough of the wholesale side of the business to carry this from an eligibility standpoint over retail. We met with a company that has a retail business that buys overstock items from these large chain stores, and they have outgrown their space. They're located in Orangeville up on Route 28. And subsequently, that has forced them to look for additional buildings, and they're now in discussions with Attica School about the Sheldon Elementary School.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
I can say.
I'm also working with the Rob's Glass here in Warsaw. They're looking at putting up a new building primarily for a showroom, but they do a lot of their own manufacturing of products and components for their bathroom and kitchen work that they do. He too, I told him to get back with me on some numbers and the type of business. And so there's another company that's looking to expand. And IDA staff, as well as Becky and others, attended the Chamber of Commerce's long-awaited ribbon cutting ceremony at the Microtel here in Warsaw. So it was a very nice event, and they reported a very good summer and early fall in terms of people staying there. So that is good news. And the last report is on beer justice. There is justice for beer. It got closed, but it was a bumpy road. And this is the microbrewery in Arcade on the corner of Herdville and Route 39. And they closed on their financing, and we still need to close on the pilot portion. We closed on the pilot portion as well. So everything's all wrapped up with that now. And they're busy over there working away, trying to get the house ready so they can move into that.
I see they're working.
I think everybody that helped that along should be complimented for doing so.
I think so. I think we should set up a little tab over there.
Jim, I see Domes is open a store down in, next to the Ford dealer.
Yeah,
One side.
she moved some of her product out of the gift shop down there and gonna give that a go down there. She's always trying to do something.
Well,
It doesn't.
I'm surprised she relocated in the village though,
Oh, this is true.
given the past history,
This is true.
but that's Katie.
Yeah. Just want to give you a couple updates on the Wyoming County Business Center project. I don't know if you folks have ever visited the Butter Meat Company in Perry, it's there on Main Street. She's the owner of a dairy farm, and they specialize in selling dairy beef from mature cows. And I'm really impressed with her and her knowledge of the industry and trying to open up this whole new niche for dairy beef. She's having some challenges with, growing the business a little bit. She's going to be getting involved with our Business Accelerator program, which I'm excited about. But more so than that, in our discussions, she wished she had a little more money that she could diversify her inventory. So we loaned her $10,000 through the Business Center as a restart loan so she could put more inventory in the shop. So we're excited about that. And then we just wrapped up the graduation at the Business Center for the Fast Track entrepreneurs. We had 7 of them this year. And we already got registrations coming in for the spring. And I think we have 7 businesses registered for what's called our business mentorship program. That's where we're taking businesses that are in existence for 3 or 4 years, but have reached that plateau level in terms of sales, bring them in, put them through the program, facilitate, mentor them, and get them to they can go at that next stage. So we're excited about that program as well. So we're very optimistic about it.
And you got 7 in that?
Got 7 enrolled in that, and we pay for 8 hours of free business counseling for a mentor to come in and work with them. And if I could jump down, as long as I'm under other business or talking about the business center, here's an update on the MK project in Arcade. We are working with Labella and Associates, as well as our private developer, which is Frontier Global Companies, which is the brownfield company that we have under agreement for redevelopment of the site. And we're all working together to apply for an EPA grant of $500,000. The business center board is agreed to kick in some cost share, as well as the private developer. We need $100,000 in cost share. Business center kicked in $50,000. The private developers kicking in $50,000, and then we're applying for $500,000. The EPA process is something we've never been through before. So we are engaged with Labella to do that application, but we're working on it as a team. And the project application is due December 1st. But we have a number of things we had to do in terms of getting a group of local citizens in Arcade involved through our community engagement. We had to do a public hearing over there Tuesday night, and we did that at the Village Hall about the application. And we had to do all kinds of crazy stuff like develop what's called an alternative brownfield cleanup analysis, where we identified 3 different ways of cleaning up the site. One which was do nothing, and one which was dig the whole thing out and bring in all new dirt, which would have been $7 million. So we picked the middle of the road one, which is about $1.5 million. So the plan for MK is, because all the asbestos over there is all mingled together because of that salvage contractor that was there. If we get this EPA grant, we're going to use it to mitigate all the asbestos in the buildings. So that's the game plan. And we're going to utilize the underground petroleum storage tanks as a leverage to get the program in, or the project into the brownfield cleanup program through New York State after the EPA piece is done. So a lot of moving parts on this, and I gotta thank Robin for jumping in on a lot of the stuff that we're having to do with this. But and we just are getting ready to take ownership away from the county on it. I just signed the papers today, so it won't be an albatross run on the county's neck for a while.
That's good.
Yeah, we formed a new LLC that's just taking on the project. It's called the WCBC North LLC. And Kevin's been very helpful with making sure all our legal ducks are in a row, and it qualifies as a not-for-profit entity as well. So a lot of people involved in this project and a lot of moving parts, like I said, but it's going the right way. And then the idea is the developer has done a market study for senior housing, calls for 80 units, but they want to bring other businesses to the site. They want to treat it as a multi-use site. So they're talking about maybe putting some retail spaces underneath the housing as one option. So there'll be a lot more thoughts about what the property can be used for, but that's something we're putting in the application because it shows that you got a plan.
They're doing a PUD.
No, gonna do a rezone. That's my report.
Our next meeting is scheduled December 9th, 2:30. And if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
This is the second.
You have a second, everybody. All in favor?
Aye.